Okay, hello everyone. We can start. So deadline of assignment 1 has been extended because some of the students were facing some sort of Wi-Fi issue, internet issue. So 17th would be the last date, but I would say submit it as soon as possible because you would have a second milestone 1 for project. So much better just do it and submit as soon as possible, okay? So if you have any question regarding your assignment or project milestone 1, you can ask.
Just for milestone 1, the second part you asked for the user interface. So do you want us to go on to something like Wix or something like that and actually go through what we want to have if we want to set up like a website for the user interface?
Yeah, technically you don't have to build that user interface, right?
Yeah.
But you have to show how you will be using your database, what would be the front end, right? Like, for example, if you are entering some data from user, for example, or customer, it should have some form, right? And you have to just draw a form, okay, this form would have these 3 attributes that we want to select data. Either you can draw it on pencil or pen, or you can use some other softwares. I also mentioned proto.io. It's a very good website, and you can create prototypes. So you just only have to create a prototype sort of thing, okay? And it's up to you. Either you can use some software, or even on a page or with pencil and pen, you can just draw, okay, this would be the home page of the main application in which we have 3 buttons. Let's suppose add new record or delete new record. So just like a web interface, or if it would be a mobile app.
Is there going to be any point where you yourself are going to want to interact with it? So would it be a good idea to not just create like still images, but should we do this one after you eventually?
Because of the next milestones, or in milestone 2 or 3, you only have to tell, okay, for this user interface I have to write this sort of queries to extract data. For example, you are showing all customers, or some, let's suppose application is hotel management and you have to show booking for some customer, right? So interface would be that, like, okay, we can search by customer name or PPS number or some ID number, and then report will show his or her booking, right? So, but in the next milestone, you only have to tell that for getting this report, you have to write this SQL query at the backend. So the main focus again would be SQL query, not on the GUI. So it's up to you. So I would say don't spend too much time on interfaces, but if you want to make a real application later on, might be after this course, it's up to you. You can make good user interface, or at least design very good, and then after your this course you can implement in some programming language, HTML or some other language. It's up to you, but the minimum criteria is only you have to highlight important screens of your system, and then in the later on in other milestones you have to tell, okay, for this screen I need this query for getting data, or even if you are inserting new record, right? So this would be enough for this course project, because we are not learning implementation sort of thing, okay? So any question? This is week 6, almost half of the course after this lecture would be over, right? We have 12 weeks in this semester. So this is a week 6. So far we have discussed ERD, very important thing, because designing is the important part for database sort of thing, right? And in which we saw what are entities and their attributes, right? And especially their relationships with each other, okay? And obviously attributes are dependent on the data that we are going to store for a particular business domain, for a particular application, right? And then in last lecture we also discussed, okay, We have ERD, now we have to convert this ERD into a physical database. For this purpose, we call this sort of thing as mapping. And for mapping, we have different rules. And before mapping, we also discussed normalization. So if you have any question regarding normalization process, because we need it for redundancy removal, right? If we have so much redundancy, obviously we are wasting our resources in terms of storage and in terms of, obviously, because we have to update data again and again. Then if data is redundant, then it means that we have to update multiple copies, which is like there are chances of error or something. So data consistency in the DBMS is very important, right? It should be consistent. Data should be consistent. Imagine if your bank accounts are not consistent, then might be some of you are getting more balance in one day and next day it's zero or something, or might be you are millionaire. So it depends on your luck, but data should be consistent. So today we are going to revise our mapping sort of thing. How many of you have tried Oracle Data Modeler? Anyone? Very few, right? But after this class, I hope everyone would be using this sort of thing, because this mapping, and because after mapping we have to create SQL query, DDL, data description language, to create actual tables in the DBMS. And if you are working in Oracle Data Modeler, it's very easy. Just you only have to click 2 times and all these phases would be automatically done by that data modeler. Okay, so first step is you have to create ERD in the data modeler, then only 1 click for mapping sort of thing. It will do automatically all mapping of the relations and entities, and that another click for creating SQL language, so that you can just copy that code and paste into DBMS and run it. Then tables would be created in DBMS. So today's agenda is this sort of thing. Internet is not working, so obviously I cannot give you live demo here, but I recorded one video at home so that you can see during this lecture. We will go through that video, very short video of just I think 2-3 minutes. Other than that, I have created your Apex accounts, and in this lecture we will see how you can access your account online. Okay, so if you have no question, we can start, and obviously we will start with some sort of revision. So in the previous week we started with first normal form. Can anyone tell what is the rule of first normal form? What is the condition to fulfill for any entity or any database, so that we can say that our database is in first normal form? Can anyone tell? No multi-valued attribute. Good. And it's very easy. Like, you don't have to put all room of this building in one attribute. You have to put somewhere else, so that one column should contain only one value. Okay, so first normal form requires that no multi-valued attributes exist, and obviously to check for 1NF, validate that each attribute has a single value for each instance of the entity. So just like an Excel sheet, for each row and for each column where that column and row is intersecting, only one value should be there. Okay, so if this condition is true for all your entities, database is in first normal form, and it's very easy to achieve. So we saw this example that in school building, this classroom attribute is a troublesome attribute. It's creating a problem because definitely this school building would have many classrooms, so we have to kick out this attribute. So rule is that all the attributes which are creating problem for some normalization form, we have to kick out these attributes and make a new entity for them. Okay, and then we have second normal form. and it requires that any non-UID attribute be dependent on the entire UID. Okay, so in other words, no partial dependency. Okay, so if we have one attribute representing as a UID, then it's already in second normal form if it's in already first normal form. So we discussed this thing when I am saying that this database is in second normal form. So the requirement is that it should be also in the first normal form. So these are the steps. So second normal form means first normal form and second normal form conditions are met. Okay. So here non-UID attributes should be dependent on the entire UID. So for example, if we have two attributes that are making UIDs, then all other non-UIDs should be fully dependent on all of 2 or 3 attributes, okay, on all UIDs, no partial dependency. Just like here, supplier name is fully dependent on supplier number, but there is no link with product number, okay, because here we have composite UIDs, 2 attributes are making UIDs, so it should be fully dependent. Then third normal form is some sort of transitivity. A is dependent on B, B is dependent on C, implies that A is also dependent on C. So this thing shouldn't be in third normal form, okay. So the third normal form states that no non-UID attribute can be dependent on another non-UID attribute. Simple as that, okay. So what does it mean? That one non-UID attribute must be fully dependent on UID attributes, okay, not on non-UID attributes. And obviously, if we are talking about third normal form, it must fulfill requirements of first normal form and second normal form, okay. So for third normal form, we have 3 conditions: first normal form condition, second normal form condition, and then the third one. So this sort of thing is known as transitive dependencies. So there shouldn't be any transitive dependency if you want to create a database and you want to say third normal form. There are so many normal forms: fourth normal form, fifth normal form, and BCNF, and so many, but they are 20-30 years old textbook normalization form. No one is using nowadays. And even when you are making website solutions, you have to make, even you can compromise on third normal form for few tables, okay, because when you are separating different data, technically you are separating data set, different data storage on your hard disk, and it would be time taken to combine this data and then give you result, right? So if you have written data on one page of your notebook, it's very easy to extract data quickly as compared to if you have to consult 3-4 notebooks and then you have to extract data, okay. So on websites nowadays, because you need quick response, especially your customers require that sort of thing, or at least they expect that the results should be fast. So nowadays people are compromising on third normal form as well, okay. And in the next year you would be learning another course of databases, advanced databases, that would be not based on relational databases, that would be based on some sort of graph based or some other key value based. Famous one is MongoDB, which is nowadays so many websites or people are using MongoDB DBMS. So in MongoDB there is no concept of normalization. They put all the data in one place so that it is fast, okay. Okay, so when we are talking about ERD, it's conceptual data modeling. Now we are talking about database design, in which we have to define our tables. In the last lecture we saw that, okay, how to create tables. For each entity it will be converted into a one table, and obviously having attributes, simple mapping. So if I have one ERD having 10 entities. So you can easily say that this database must contain at least 10 tables in physical database, because 10 for each entity we must have one table. Okay, so but for relationships sometimes we also create entities, and even we use foreign key concept. We discussed this foreign key concept, that primary key, there is one primary key in one table to identify one instance, but if that foreign key is going to another table, then this is known as foreign key. So for example, student is a table and courses taken is another table, and obviously one student would be getting or taking so many courses, right? So student ID coming, which would be the primary key in student table, would be coming or going to the course taken table as well as a foreign key, so that we can easily find out that okay, how many courses particular ABC person or student has taken. Okay, so this is a basic concept of foreign key and primary key, and obviously foreign key should be or must be a primary key of some other table, otherwise we cannot link two tables. So technically foreign key, we use foreign key to link two tables. Okay, so in actual physical database design, database is just like this thing. We have employees table, and these are the attributes, and we have rows, which is one instance, and then we have columns, which are attributes. So we discussed this thing many times, that one column, primary key could be consist of one column only, or it could be multiple column, 2 or 3, right? Okay, so this is a foreign key. So you can see that here employees is part of some department, and here department ID is a primary key, so it is coming to this table as a foreign key, so that now it's linked. Now we can see, okay, Jennifer is working in the administration department. Okay, so with the help of SQL query, we can easily connect these two tables and extract information accordingly. Okay, then we discuss different data integrity rules. Entity integrity is that it's related to a primary key, and I told you that these 3-4 are very important. Whenever you are going for some interview regarding database, people would definitely ask one of anything, what is referential integrity especially. It's very famous question for an interview. So entity integrity is about primary key, and primary key must be unique, obviously, and it cannot be null. Okay. Referential integrity is about foreign keys. That foreign key must match an existing primary key value, right? So for example, if I put foreign key 200 here, and there is no department ID with 200, then I cannot link this table with this one. It means that this entry is violating referential integrity constraint. Okay, so this is a main constraint, that foreign key must be present as a primary key value in some other table. So that's why we can link it. Otherwise we don't have any way to link two tables. Okay, so then column integrity deals with the data type of the value. So if I'm going to store age and it must be number, then I cannot enter some categorical value for age. I cannot say 23 in English words, right? I have to write data 2, 3 only, because it can only store, this column can only store integer values. Okay, so this is column integrity. And then user defined integrity is some sort of related to business rules. If salary cannot be less than let's say 50 euro per hour, then obviously you cannot employ someone and add his or her salary less than 50 euro. Okay, so these are the different constraints. And when we are creating tables in SQL, or via SQL in DBMS, we have to define these constraints. And the good thing about Oracle Data Modeler is that they will take care of all of these constraints. Okay, so you only have to create a good ERD in Data Modeler, and then only 2 clicks can make code for you, so that you can copy that code and paste in the DBMS and run it and create tables in DBMS. So terminology mapping is simple. Entity converted in physical design, we call it as table. Instance is row, attribute is column, primary UID is primary key, secondary UID is unique key, and relationship is a foreign key. And then we discuss about table diagram notations, so that we can convert entities and we can make, and we discuss table name as well. But you can follow any standard, that's fine. Because we are taking nodes from Oracle course, so we have to follow at least one standard. Okay. So rules for relationships, we discussed this thing that for many side, if we have a relationship between two entities, one to many, it means that the primary key of one table will come as a foreign key in the many side. Okay, just like you can see here, department and employee entities, and the relationship is one to many, right? Many is this side. So it means that primary key of this table would become a foreign key in this table. So that's why we are adding department underscore ID attribute as an attribute, and we are linking this thing as a foreign key. Okay. And we also discussed this thing that if in ERD this attribute is mandatory, then we will write it mandatory sort of thing. For relationship, we will see this must be, because this is a must be relationship. That's why we are putting mandatory for this thing. Okay. So another example for musician and band, and then for mapping one-to-one relationships, obviously if the relationship is mandatory, so the only difference is that, like, you create a foreign key. Obviously for every relationship we have to create a foreign key. This is a simple formula, right? So but the thing is, we have to decide from which table we are taking value and making it as a foreign key to another table. This will depend on the relationship type. So if one to many thing, then from one we are going to many side. Okay, because logically it's simple, because one department would have many employees, so it means that employees should contain one value of the department to which he or she is belonging, right? So it makes sense, because we cannot do this thing that for one department we are adding multiple employees ID. Okay, it would be wastage, and obviously multi-valued attributes is a violation, and even that table wouldn't be in first normal form. So in one-to-one relationship, you create a foreign key and a unique key. Can anyone tell why we are making this foreign key as a unique key? Can anyone tell? In one-to-one relationship, right? One-to-one relationship example could be one country has one capital city, right? One capital. So why it's unique? Why we are making? Obviously we are making as a foreign key, but we are making that foreign key attribute as a unique as well, to ensure that the relationship remains one-to-one. Obviously one country couldn't have two capitals, or obviously one capital cannot be capital of two countries, right? So that's why unique key is there, right? So if Dublin is selected as a capital of some country, then unique key constraint will ensure that it will not be added as a capital of another country. Okay, So that's why it's unique. You know the meaning of unique, right? Okay. So all columns of this foreign key are also part of the unique key. If the relationship is mandatory on one side, the foreign key is created in the corresponding table. Okay. So simple rule is that if the relationship is mandatory on one side, the foreign key is created in the corresponding table. So what it means that from other table, foreign key, primary key would be coming to that mandatory side table as a foreign key. So here we have one example. Each employee must be allocated one and only one cubicle. So we can see that here the relationship is 1-to-1 and this is mandatory, right? Must be. So that's why in employees table we are adding one key as a foreign key which is coming from here, cubicle code. Okay. So by this way we can link these two tables. Okay. So once we have created these two tables, then it's very easy to write SQL query, because in computers you have to tell like how you are going to join two tables. So now we have to join these two tables to get a report about all the cubicles that are assigned to the employees, right? So that's why we have this foreign key sort of thing. In optional 1-to-1, it's up to us. There is absolute no rule, but there are some guidelines. For example, to save space, implement the foreign key in the table with fewer rows to save space, right? Or it depends sometimes for making sense for the particular business. So we saw this example. Okay. Similarly, we can map args, different args, right? So the entity that has the arg will map to a table that contains foreign keys from the tables on the one end of the relationships. And even if the relationships are mandatory, but because we are getting values for each foreign keys, we have to make it optional. So this would be very easy and could be clear from this thing. So for this ERD, we have three tables, right? Three entities, so three tables. And then, but this is a arg, and this membership must be held by company, or because this arg is representing as a or, so exclusive or. So this membership may be held or must be held by a customer. Okay. So so memberships would be, this table would contain two foreign keys. One foreign key would be a primary key of this table, and second foreign key would be a primary key of this table. But we will make these two attributes as optional, right? Because for one instance there is only one possibility. Otherwise there would be like this membership could be from company or from the customer. So that's why we are making both attributes optional, so that data can be entered. Remember, if we are making this sort of thing mandatory, then it means that we are putting some constraint in the DBMS. And later on, if we are making a GUI so that people can add data, and if that data is violating sort of thing, then obviously DBMS will throw an error. It will not add data. Okay. So that's why we are making this optional, right? Because when we would be entering someone's membership, then only one data would be coming, either from company side data or from the customer side data. This is exclusive or for args. So table creation names, we discussed this thing that table names should be plural. For example, students, okay, not student. And table names are not case sensitive. Technically, SQL language is not case sensitive. So it's a very easy language. So creating tables is part of SQL's data definition language, right, DDL. And other DDL statements used to set up, change and remove data structures from tables, including alter, drop, rename and truncate. Okay. And like if you want to create a table in DBMS, you have to deal with DDL part of SQL, data definition language, right? And it's very easy. In the next slide there would be, so in SQL you only have to write create table. Create is a keyword of SQL, so there are few 20-30 words which would be serving as a keyword in SQL, so you cannot name your table as a table. Okay, even similarly you cannot create a table named as create, so they are reserved words for SQL. So here you are creating table. Create table is a command, simple. This is a table name, it could be employees, right? And then you have to define each column. Column name, data type, and if you want to provide some default value. For example, you are setting salary, and you want to set default value is equals to 15,000, let's suppose. So it would be a default value for each employee whenever you are adding new record. Okay, so that's where you have to write all the name of the columns. So here we have example. So create table, simple, table name, first attribute is CD number and its data type is number. So in Oracle we have 30-40 data types, but usually we use 3, 4 or maximum 5 data types that are very common. Number is for integer, it's precision. Varchar is a variable character. This varchar 2 is used for categorical or text values, and here 20 means 20 characters. We are restricting its length by 20 characters. Okay, so varchar number, and then we have date. Okay, so default is system date. So we will see. So similarly, if I am creating one table, my friends, first name, last name, and obviously data type would be varchar 2 or varchar, right? Email address is varchar, but obviously first name maximum 20 characters, 30, it's up to you. But obviously if you are giving so much space, it means that you are wasting your storage space, because it will be allocating 30 characters for email. But why we are using varchar? This is a variable character, right? We have one data type character. Why we are not using character only? Because if by character only, it will be fixing that 20 characters for email, but for varchar it will be variable. It will be keeping increasing, expanding as long as we are adding different characters to this thing. So that's why varchar is more good, because it's not fixing, but we have upper limit. We have to tell okay, this attribute would have maximum 30 characters in email address. Okay, so then phone number and then birth date. So this is DDL of your table, one table, my friends. You have to copy this code into a DBMS in Oracle, and it will create a new table for you. Once the table is created, then there is another query by using that query you can insert simply data. This is not data, right? This is some sort of data definition, metadata. Okay, so this is very simple, right? Or wrong? Is it difficult to write this metadata information about your table? And remember, you have to write this for only once in your whole life, okay, for this particular table. And that alter and truncate sort of thing is that if you want to modify your table later on. Like Facebook, when it was started, obviously they would be getting customers' information at that time, would be definitely changed by today, right? So they are not dropping or deleting their DBMS, they are just altering their DBMS, okay? But if your design is good and you know that it will not change forever, then this simple code is required once. Once your database have been created in DBMS, then you only have to insert values, okay? For John, for Ashling, for James, for all employees. One by one, it could be one by one, it could be bulk, if you are importing data from Excel or some SQL, it depends. But before adding data in DBMS, you must have created this definition, okay? You must have created this metadata or definition of the table, and it's only a one-time sort of thing. And yeah, so we have discussed this thing. We have some common data types, and you can use different sort of thing. Even for binary values, you can store JPEG or video images in your Oracle. It depends. But usually characters, varchar, numbers, right? And you can see 6.2 is precision and sort of thing. If you want real values, if you want to store it, okay? So after the creation of any table, then you have to insert new data, and this is another SQL query. So now you are saying that insert into time example 1. So here we have created definition sort of thing, and now we are inserting value, okay? And then we are telling values, these are the two values, and then it will be added here. So similarly, we can call this multiple times, and obviously we have to define constraint on this table, so that we have to mention which attribute is the primary key of this attribute, this table, right? So we have to define constraints. And then once all the data have been added, you can simply say that select static from table name. It's very easy. Static means all, okay? So static means you are getting all data from this table. You want, for reports, you have to use query select. So in upcoming at least 4 weeks, we would be learning this slide, okay? So we don't worry about this thing. We would be learning how to insert values, or how to select data, how to restrict data, because if I want to check record of only this student, then obviously select static from NUIG students is not a good query. It will get all the record of might be 100-year-old students, right? So it means that I have to restrict something. I have to restrict my record, and it's very easy. Select static from NUIG students. Then there is another keyword where student ID is equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now this select query will only get information about where the condition was true, okay? So in upcoming 3-4 weeks, we would be learning this sort of thing, how we can insert data, but important thing is that how we can select data. And then there is another query part in which we can simply update our data. So just remember that when you have to talk about some particular table, you have to remember its name, right? You have to call it by name. So select static from table name, okay? Update or similarly insert. So you can see this table name is time example 1, and we are using this table name as a reference for inserting new record or selecting some records from the table. So table name is important, right? And here this static means all attributes. So for example, if some table has hundreds of attributes, and obviously I don't want all attributes to display, I only want 3 attributes: first name, last name, and salary. There is one report about employees, first name, last name, and salary. So I will say select first name, comma, last name, comma, salary from employees table or employees salaries, right? So I can do some sort of selection on rows as well as on columns. Okay, so if I want to restrict rows, I would be using where clause, which is not here. But if I want to select only few columns, then I can simply name that columns that I want to get from the DBMS. So this SQL query will be running on DBMS, and it will bring data for you, and then you can send that data to your graphical user interface to display it, right? Now it's making sense how DBMS works, or no? Can anyone tell on the basis of this query how Facebook will authenticate you whenever you are adding your information on login page, right? So definitely there would be at the back end, there would be a SQL query to check your credentials, your username and password, right? So that's very easy, because SQL query would be at the back end, they would be checking select static from users. Let's suppose Facebook has a table of all users, from users, where username is equals to that field that you entered in the text box, and operator. Password is equals to value of that field that you entered in a password field. If that query is successful, it means that it will return some result. If username or password is not correct, then it will throw an error that credentials are not correct. Got it? You all of you are using Facebook, right? Don't tell no one is using Facebook here. And obviously you have to log in, and while login you have to provide two information, username and password, in the boxes. Okay, so technically this is HTML form. When you are submitting that form, the data in the text box of username and password will be submitted to the web server. On the web server will take that value and ask DBMS through SQL that select static from Facebook users table name, where username is equals to username that is coming from the form that you entered, and password is equals to password that you entered in the password box. If that query is successful, it means that user name and password is present in the Facebook user table. Otherwise it will simply say username or password is incorrect. Okay, so this is a main thing that by which you can authenticate. Any question? So when you are signing up, when you are creating some data or writing some, for example, you are creating new user account information. Technically it is a form, right? You are entering HTML form, you are entering different information. So what will happen when you would be submitting that sort of thing? From GUI, that data will go to the web server, and web server will execute this sort of thing, insert query. It will add your data here and it will execute this query. If this data is valid, it will be, if DBMS added this data successfully, it will tell to the web server that all is fine. Then this web server will tell you that okay, your account has been created successfully. Simple as that. If there is some error, data type error, some important value is missing, DBMS will throw an error. If DBMS throw an error, then definitely web server will ping you or show you result that data is not valid. Okay. So logic is simple. For every form, for everything, there is some sort of one query that would be running in SQL at the back end. Okay. So supertype implementation, in supertypes we have option, we can create one single table and then we can create different fields or you can create multiple tables for each type. It totally depends on if there are so many common attributes in all subtypes, then obviously you can do it with single table. But if there are so many different attributes and different relationships, so it's a good practice if you can create separate table for separate subtype. So it depends on you, it depends on the design and needs and requirements. So rules, tables, only one table is created regardless of the number of subtypes. Columns, the single table gets one column for each attribute of the supertype along with the original optionality of the attribute. And obviously if you are mixing all subtypes into a one table, it means that you are wasting many attributes, because for many for example we have supertype payment, in which we have cash and credit card information, two subtypes. And obviously for credit card information we require bank detail, account number, or even credit card number and its validity date or its PIN number, some sort of thing. But if someone is paying through cash, it means that there will be null values for that particular attributes, right? Because there is no bank number needed. So it means that we are wasting storage, we are wasting space. So it depends on your design, that single table is a good option, or multiple tables, or table for each sub entity is a good thing, right? So I have discussed all this thing very quickly. So here is one example. We have employee and we have two other entities, department and agency, and obviously we are creating separate tables for departments and agencies. But here in employee we have two subtypes, full-time employees and part-time employees. You can see for full-time employees we have to add salary, fixed salary, let's say per month salary or annual salary. But for part-time salary we have to add hourly rate. Okay, so if we are making, but for each employee these are the common attributes, supertype attributes are common attributes. And here this relationship is for all. We discussed this thing, your relatives, right? Parents' relatives are by default your relatives as well, no option. But this relationship is your own, this is your friend, so obviously no need to make friend of your father or mother as well. So so this relationship is for part-time. So if we are making one table, then obviously all these attributes are coming from here, and this attribute salary and even hourly rate is also there, but we have to make this optional, not mandatory. So they are mandatory here, but because we are mixing it, and if we are adding one employee who is part-time, then its salary would be null, right? This optional means null can be added, okay, in DBMS. If it's mandatory, then obviously it would be error. If we are, because we cannot enter sort of thing optional, okay. And then similarly for foreign keys, similarly we have to make relationships, foreign keys, because many side is here. So same rule for one-to-many sort of thing. Primary key of one side would be coming as a primary as a foreign key at the many side. So here we can write by this way. So this is single table implementation. Any question? Other option is that for each entity or for each subtype we have to create separate entity, okay. But it's fine in this course if you are creating a single table implementation, that's fine, okay. But if you are using Oracle data modeler, you don't have to take care of this lecture. But obviously I would be testing this sort of thing in your final exam and assignments as well. So data modeler wouldn't be there. So you must know that basic rules of converting ERD into tables. Okay. So this is a single. So here you can see that because this employee is, because we are adding one type, employee type, FTE, full-time employee, right? So that's why this hourly rate is empty or null. Okay. But this employee is part-time, so salary is null. So that's why this salary and hourly rate were optional. Okay. So just remember that optional means you can empty that column, no problem, right? Null values. So multi-table is simple, two-table implementation. You create a table for each of the subtypes. Okay, we can see one example, then we will discuss all these rules, and then we will take a break. So hold on. Okay. So we have one super type clothing, shirt and shoe is a subtype of this sort of thing, and obviously it has some common relationship with manufacturer, but cobbler and tailor would be obviously related with shoe and shirt respectively. So if we are making two different tables, then it means that multi-tables, it means that for two subtypes, two different tables, right? And for each table, all of these attributes would be coming here, and all relationships would be coming here. Similarly, all these attributes would be coming here. And obviously not these three attributes would be coming, which is related to shoe size or buckle style or heel height, wouldn't be coming in shirts. Okay, but they would be coming here. Okay, so it's up to us. For each subtype, either we can create multi-table sort of implementation or single table implementation. If we are making single table implementation, then we have to add an extra attribute as a type, super type. Remember in the previous slide, we not previous slide, in previous slides, okay, we have an extra attribute employee type, because this would be representing subtype. By this code, FTE or PTE, part-time employee or full-time employee, we can easily identify that, okay, this row is a full-time employee or part-time employee. So we can take a break. If you have any question, I have example of multi-table populated data, and you can see here null values are very less, right? Because we are not wasting space when we have multi-table implementation. So 10-minute break. So on the Blackboard, I have added information about Apex accounts, and I would say over the weekend you must at least try your account. Password is same for all, but obviously you can change your password later on, and these Apex accounts would be activated for at least 1 year. So even you can use it after this course in summer. So it should be activated till end of September 2022, right? So okay. So we have talked about this basic select statement. So syntax is very simple. So select and from is a keyword, and here just for notation sort of thing, it's in the capital, but SQL is not case sensitive language, right? So that's fine. If you can write it in lower case, that's fine. So select static from, you have to mention, you have to tell table name. So by this way you can get any data from this table. But if you want to create if you want to get data from multiple tables, then you have to join two tables, and we will see how we can join tables in upcoming weeks. So very basic example is that select static from employees. It will bring all data from employees table from the DBMS. Now you can simply create a PDF report and you can generate information about your all employees. So very basic, very simple query, right? Very easy one, select static from employees. And obviously with the passage of time, it would be more easier for you. First time you have to learn basic syntax, but it's very, very easy. SQL is very, very easy. So instead of static, you can mention column names. So select first name, comma, last underscore name, job underscore ID from employees, and then you are putting one condition. Okay. So this is for column selection, and after where clause you are putting some criteria where job ID is SA rep. Okay. For example, you only want to see students of BIS where year or graduation year or third year or second year, right? So by this way we are only getting information about students of third year students or second year students, so that we can display that thing. So SQL statement is entered at the web servers or front end. Then obviously this would be statement is sent to the Oracle server DBMS, and then this DBMS would be returning data to the graphical user interface. Okay. So select is one of the most common or important keyword in SQL. You use select to retrieve information from the database. When you learn how to use select, you have opened the door to the database. It's very easy. So imagine a database containing information about movies. So they have different attributes. So obviously if you only have to create, let's suppose, a movie from some particular country, then obviously you have to put some condition here where country name is equals to Pakistan, right? So this is very easy on the basis of this thing. So capabilities of select statements, it has two capabilities: projection, used to choose columns in a table, and if you want to select only rows, then it's a selection, projection and selection. And obviously in a single query you can use projection and selection as well. So this is projection, where we are only selecting salary, select salary. It means that we are interested in one column, salary only, from employees table. This is an employee table, but we are very selective about one employee whose name is last name is Smith. So it means that this is row selection and this is column projection. So we would be only getting this data which is green, 5,000. So we can easily find out the salary of Mr. Smith, right? For example, if I want to write a query, I want to check all employees who have salary greater than 4,000. What would be the query? Who will tell? What would be the query if I want to select data of all employees having salary equals to and greater than 3,000 or 4,000? What would be the query? Who will tell? Select static from employees will get this all table, right? But I only need names of employees having salary greater than, let's say, 4,000. So what would be the query? Who will tell? What would be the first word of SQL query? Question is clear? I need data of all employees having salary greater than 4,000. What would be the SQL query? Who will tell?
Data or just the first name and the last name?
Sorry?
Data or just
That's fine. First name, last name, you can use static, no problem.
Select first name, last name for employees, where employee over for employee.
Perfect. Perfect. Right? So select first name, comma, last name, comma, salary, or if I am selecting all attributes, static would do that thing. Select static from employees where salary greater than symbol 4,000. Okay, so basically I'm just restricting rows with where clause where salary must be greater than 4,000, right? So this is very easy, and obviously don't worry, in next 3-4 weeks we would be learning this thing. So select static from countries would select all columns, but if you need some less columns from countries, then you can simply write their names, country ID or country name only. Okay, so projecting specific columns. So we can use arithmetic operators, and they are very easy to use, like even we can compute some, apply some mathematical formula, make, like if management is thinking about increasing pay of all employees by 5%, they can simply say that, okay, select salary into 1.05 from employees. It will bring new salary of employees. Okay, just remember that select statement will they don't have any power to change data. Okay, so don't worry about executing any wrong select statement. It is not capable of changing your data. It's just for using read only data. Okay, so select statement cannot change your data. It can only bring data, it can only manipulate or use some expression to get calculated data, but in actual it has no power to change your data. We have another SQL statement starting from update. By using update, we can change actual data, but from select, it's just a read only operation. Okay, so we can use different arithmetic operators just like this, like select last name, salary, and salary plus 300 from employees. So you can see new column is added in the report. Just remember that it's a read only operation. DBMS is only showing this thing to us. It's not creating a new column salary plus 300. Okay, so at the back end, no change. It's for just display. So you can see salary is 24,000, and then obviously by adding it's 24,300. So by this way you can see, okay, how much increase for each employee. You can take some of that and you can see that, okay, what would be the effect if you are going to increase just 500 euro for each employee, what would be the total impact of overall salaries, right? So we can use manipulate data by using select statement, and it is read only. And then obviously we have precedence in arithmetic operators, just like mathematics, multiplication and divide and plus minus sort of thing from left to right. So it's same rules, just like mathematics. Null values in SQL, null is an interesting word. To understand null, you have to know that null is and what null is and what null is not. Null is a value that is unavailable. Okay, empty is not a null value. Okay, 0 is not a null value. If someone has salary is equal to 0, it means that he is working without any pay. Okay, but null doesn't mean that. Null means that you don't know, it's unavailable, not added, right? So unassigned, unavailable, unknown, or inapplicable, right? NA. So null is not the same as a 0 or a space. Space in a space like empty, right? So this is different. So in SQL, a 0 is a number and space is a character. So if you are adding 0, it means that you are adding some number in DBMS. If you are adding someone's address empty space, it means that he's living in a space, okay? It doesn't mean that his address or her address is not available or not yet entered, okay? So sometimes you don't know the value for a column. In a database, you can store unknowns in your databases. Relational databases use a placeholder called null or null to represent these unknown values. So here, commission percentage for this employee, we have 0.2 commission, but this is a null value, right? Unknown. But if we put 0 here, it means that this person is working on 0 commission. So the story is now different, okay? So, so that's why this null is different than 0, okay? So any question? So in the next class, I hope internet would be working. So try to bring your own laptop, and definitely you would have your Apex account. Then we would be using script to generate data, and then we would be entering or running SQL query live so that you can see that, okay, by entering this we can add this sort of thing, okay? So last thing of this lecture is Oracle Data Modeler. So we have time, so we can talk about this thing. So it's very easy to use, and I saw few people submitted assignments by making their assignment question 1 especially, and even some students also did that normalization part of assignment on this thing, which is very good, because if you have created ERD in this data modeler, then you have already done almost 99% of your DBMS task, because next 2 steps, creating table, foreign keys, defining sort of thing, and then generating DDL is very, very easy in data modeler, right? So for example, I have to create a logical model, right? And in logical model, I have to create one entity. For example, I have one entity named as employee. You can mention attribute names here. So first name is ID. Here you have to define data types. Remember, now we have discussed this data types, that this attribute could be number, this attribute could be varchar, right? Text, categorical, or date. So we will select from logical. We can define domains, but for simplicity we can go from here, logical, and you can see we have different options. And let's say I'm selecting ID as an integer, okay? So I can add another attribute named as name, logical, and variable character, varchar. Size could be defined as 50. It means that 50 characters would be in this column, okay? And I can add another email address of an employee, and obviously data type would be variable characters or text. 50 length is fine. Apply, okay. So now one entity has been created. I can quickly create another entity. So let's say departments entity, department entity, that's fine. Attributes, so let's suppose department ID, and it would be integer, and then department name. Attribute names could be same for other entities, that's fine, no problem, but for human readability it's a good practice if we can assign them good names to the attributes. So for example, only 2 attributes. So now we have 2 entities. Now we have to create a relationship. So one-to-many relationship, this entity to this entity, employees, that's fine. Source to target cardinality is 1. Target to source cardinality is many, one-to-many. Source is optional, that's fine. Transferable, that's fine for the time being. So sort of this arc, we can create arc from here. Okay, but obviously we don't need arc here. So I think that's fine. What else? So you can see now we have created an ERD of 2 entities, very basic entities. So now in your project milestone 1, you have to create ERD. Some of you have already created ERD in project proposal, but that's fine. You can refine it and you can try on this data modeler. It's very easy to create, and you have to mention data types, numeric, integer, varchar or date sort of thing. And after that, other steps would be very easy. Like you have to go there, logical model, right click, engineer to relational model choice. It will create automatically mapping of your ERD. So that's why I'm saying that using this tool is very, very helpful, because next steps would be just few clicks away. So that's fine. Apply selection is fine. Then engineer. So you can see it has already created automatically foreign keys and primary keys for you. You can see, right? Or no? Okay. Might be by this way. So you can see it has added one department ID here automatically. Just one click. Logical models, right click, engineer to relational model. Okay. So this is relational model. Physical models. Then we have to create a DDL, right? Data definition language, so that we can get code from here. We will copy SQL code. Remember, we have to create these 2 tables in the DBMS now. Okay. So in your milestone 1, you have to do 3 steps. For question 1, you have to create this ERD. You have to create its relational model, just like this one, which is very, very easy if you have created your ERD in data modeler. Otherwise, you have to write down table name just like similar to the slides, and it will take definitely a lot of time. So it's up to you, just one click, or you want more. Okay. But obviously you have to check other things, that relations are well defined or not. Then in the 3rd step, you have to create code for DDL, data definition language, for SQL. You can simply write from here that create table, employee and ID and this sort of thing, but just go there, new, that's fine. Oracle database 11G. So these are the different, so in this choice, it's asking you want to create DDL for which version of your DBMS. So if you are using Oracle, so database 11G is fine, even 12C or something is fine, but that's fine. So it's created, right? So you can go to file, export, DDL file. Okay. So if you want to save it, then simply you can save one DDL file on your computer, and you can submit that file with your project milestone 1. That's it for your question 1 of your project. Okay. And obviously we would be using that DDL file in Apex to generate or create tables, actual tables in the DBMS. So even if you want to see, so you can say generate, that's fine. Okay, so you can see create, this code is automatically generated for you. You only have to copy this code and paste it in Apex, run it, it will create actual tables in DBMS. Or you can store or save this file from here on your local computer, and then you can import this file in Oracle database or any other database and run it. Okay, so by this way you can easily create DDL. So in creating an actual database, the first step is to create DDL, because once we have metadata, then we can simply insert values. Then once we have data, we can simply select values. Okay, so that's why this data modeler is very useful, very, very handy, because it will do a lot of work for you. Like you don't have to take care of mapping sort of thing. You don't have to write DDL for you. It's automatic. Is it difficult to use? So this lecture would be obviously available. So if you're stuck, you can go through just this 5-10 minutes and you can simply make things. So I have uploaded this document. Every person has Apex workspace and username assigned. Both are same, so no problem. So the third important thing required is a password, which is common for all, but obviously when you would be logging first time, you have to change it. So you can simply go through this document and find your assigned workspace and username, which is same, and then you have to go to one link, online link I have mentioned on Blackboard. So one on the web browser. So this video is from the web browser. So this will be open. Then you simply have to write your own username and workspace sort of thing, and password is written on the Blackboard. So I can play this video, just a 2-minute video. So yeah, you have to enter that common password one time. Okay, I was testing with few accounts, so yeah, just sign in. So you have to change your current password, which would be common for this one. Then you can set your new password. That's fine. So this is the interface of Apex, Oracle Apex. Okay, so we can build app builder by using app builder. We can build applications, mobile applications very easily, but obviously we are interested in SQL part of sort of thing. So here we can we can upload that DDL file, or we can simply copy paste that DDL file and paste it here, just like this. I can name this script as any name. Then obviously I have to run it. Okay, run button is not shown here, but run script, then run now. And you can see 5 tables have been, different statements have been processed successful, and I can go back and from SQL Workshop I can go to Object Browser, and you can see 2 tables have been created with these columns. It's very, very easy. You have actually implemented your DBMS in Oracle. Is it difficult? I hope so. No. So we can stop here for today. If you have any question, you can ask. Otherwise, so over the weekend, try to log in your Apex account, create some basic DDL from the data modeler, copy and then paste it, just like this video. And I think that would be fine, because by next week, if you can bring your laptop, that would be great. And I hope that Wi-Fi would be working here. Otherwise, I have to type and tell you, or might be I would have some recorded video, because without internet I cannot access Apex here. Okay. So assignment is extended, but just remember that your next assignments wouldn't be extended. So we have same 12 weeks, so it's up to you. So if you have completed your assignment 1, then try to finish milestone 1 on this weekend, because right after the weekend I would be uploading assignment 2. Okay. So, or even I can upload it on weekend, over the weekend, so that if you have time, you can start thinking about it.